Somebody was interviewing me the other day and they're like, what's the craziest thing someone asked you to do? And I was like, they wanted me to do the social media for this business they were starting where they filmed bare feet in cabs.
Seriously?
I turned that one down.
Well, if I start seeing bare feet in cabs, I know it wasn't you, James.
Oh, listen, I passed on that one.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Stay-at-Home Bookkeeper podcast. We are so excited for you to be here today. And in today's podcast, I have one of my dearest friends, James Lucente. James, how are you today?
I am doing great. How are you doing, Deanna?
I am good and good. So let me ask you something. Here's the funny thing about people that are watching or listening to this. They're either aspiring to be a bookkeeper, aspiring to build their maybe current bookkeeping practice up and get it bigger, or it could be just as an entrepreneur in general and they're listening. And so I want them to know what your skill set is. What it is it that you do that's so magical, and then we'll kind of deep dive in from there.
Magical is subjective sometimes, but
Well, I
um,
know you're really good.
so what I do is really in its simplest terms is I work with brands, entrepreneurs, businesses, and I help them figure out what their voice is because most of the time they don't know what that is. And then I help them figure out how to relay that feeling or that voice or that brand and then figure out the kind of content that's needed to connect it to the audience that we need to find to connect to it. So, um, find the voice, find the audience, and connect them.
Okay, so marketing. Love that. Let's start with I'm gonna ask you some deep questions on this. So let's just say you're a brand new bookkeeper, which a lot of people coming into our academy are. Um, how would you tell them to find their voice?
If you asked me this a year ago, I would have given you a different answer, but
Okay.
I'm going to give you a current answer, which is you get on with ChatGPT and you ask ChatGPT to help you find your voice. And I think that's the simplest way to do it. And you answer questions honestly and directly to ChatGPT and see where it leads you. And if you are being your true self, then you will be the only one with your exact brand.
I love that. So, you know what's funny is that so many people are afraid of AI and Chat GPT and all that. And we tell people like lean into it. It's not going anywhere. It's getting better and it actually enhances what bookkeepers do. It's not replacing the physical human that still has to talk to the businesses and verify that things are correct. AI actually makes bookkeepers' jobs easier. It helps
Sure.
make things faster. It makes it produce reports better, upload data. So, like, what would you tell the person that's afraid of that? And how, like you just said, and how they can help find their voice and figure out how to best get their business out there.
I think the biggest fear people have is they think they're cheating when they use it. And
Mm.
if you're not using it, you're you're hindering yourself. You're giving yourself a handicap because more and more people are using it every day. And really, again, you can sit down and have a conversation with you. Sit down and say, "Hey, I need to figure out who I am. What questions can you ask me to help me do that?" And start there, and just just keep going. Um, it's only limited by what you're willing to expose or ask it to do.
It really is. And you know, it's funny because I use it every day. Like I'm in it every single day. I mean, it rewrites my emails, it helps me
Hmm.
do searches. I mean, it I can't it's endless of how I use it, right? But it took me a while too to really embrace it, to really go, okay, start using it as a daily tool versus when I first started, it was more of oh, occasionally I'll go look over there. Oh, occasionally I'll go plug something in. But now it's part of my every day of things that I'm working on, I go to verify. I
Hmm.
use it a lot for verification or to search for things that I may be looking for. Even small businesses that might be a good target for me to reach out to. Like I can type that in. People don't realize that chat can be more like a Google search. Like I can find the businesses and it'll spit it out for you, right?
It
It's
should be your
amazing.
primary search engine.
100%.
It should be the first thing you go to look for something, no matter what. So,
I love that. So tell me a little bit more about finding your voice, whether you're seasoned or whether you're brand new at this. What would you say to find your voice and get started? What are the steps besides obviously going to ChatGPT searching for that?
So ask yourself, why do I want to be a stay-at-home bookkeeper? Why am I doing this? What got me into this? What is my niche? Like, what are the things that I really like? What are the businesses that I really want to do the books for and why? Do I want to do, veterinarians? Do I want to do, local entrepreneurs in my neighborhood? Do I want to do car washes or auto repair places like you guys have? Really establish the reason why you're doing what you're doing other than I want to make money,
Right.
and what makes you better than the next person that might be trying to do the same thing. I mean, look, bookkeepers have the same problem I think that people like me in digital marketing have is which is we are the last people a business thinks about getting on board to help them succeed. And by the time they get to us, they're like, oh, it costs that much money to do that. So
Well, or it's a fire, right? Like it's
yeah,
like I need my
yeah,
books cleaned and oh my gosh, it's the end of the year and
right.
I need help and they don't realize to embrace that person from the beginning will make
Yeah.
things so much easier and it's less costly for them as the business, right?
And that's a great statement there for someone in their brand, which is that they are available to get to know them and build that relationship. So it does make untangling all the books throughout the year a whole lot easier instead of just getting piled up all at once and they have no idea who they are.
So let's talk a little bit more deeper into the marketing side or how building your brand. What are some ways that someone's starting out that they should be building their brand? What are things that they should be doing?
So this is going to sound bad and probably not what people want to hear, but like when I started doing social media and got into digital marketing, the first thing I had to do was get customers that were good case studies. But to get good case studies without any before that, I had to charge very low prices to get in the door, and get people to trust that I knew what I was talking about. So probably the first 6 months to a year, maybe 2 years even, I was getting clients and severely undercharging what other people would charge. But the work was so good that it kind of snowballed into more referrals and stuff. And so I had these case studies to move on to the next thing. And really the price point is what's going to allow them into more people to hire them initially. Um, and then you just have to kind of scale that as you feel like, all right, well, I'm better at this now, and this is what my time is worth now. Um, and start there. That's for like totally unknown. If people have some kind of foot in the door, maybe you can scoot around that a little bit or get a referral from a friend, um, and start like that. That would be my best advice for starting out in this.
I love referrals. Referrals are a huge part of our business as
Of course.
well. And yeah, and the nice thing about bookkeeping is it is easy to get started and to get started quickly because it doesn't take a lot. It could take 5 or 10 clients to really replace your income immediately if you wanted to,
And I
right?
guess in that, yeah,
That's the
and
nice part.
in bookkeeping too, they're going to need to establish what their skill is. Is it QuickBooks or is it another platform? Like that's got to be in place right before they even hit the ground running. Um, and I guess the more systems they know, that would make them more available for other people to hire them instead of just kind of being a one trick pony.
Right. Now, what about an online presence? What do you suggest they do to start building their online presence?
Sure. So you hit, Facebook, get in some bookkeeping groups, start your own Facebook business page, start your own Instagram page, and start developing your personality and your brand on those platforms with content that is entertaining. Um,
Gets you noticed, right?
yeah, yeah, it's all about the best marketing is entertaining, and you have to show why you're different. And even if you're the best bookkeeper in the world, if you're boring and nobody likes talking to you, they're going to go to someone that makes them feel better, or someone that they can relate to or have interests that are the same. So when you're doing these posts on social media, you're just kind of letting people into your life, letting them know what it is about you that they can connect with. and that's really important. It's not, it is exactly like real life. You're not going to hire the person that isn't like you. You're going to hire the person that has the same interest in you.
Well, we tell people all the time in our course that like people work with people that they like. You
Yeah.
would be surprised. Like if you can just have conversations and you can get along and you enjoy, we talk about it, we call it tacos and tequila. Like if you were to sit at a dinner table and have tacos and tequila and you absolutely just love being able to talk to you, James, you're going to be more apt to want to work with them because it just feels right. It feels exciting. It doesn't feel painful to have to do business with you, right? But when you cannot communicate well and it's painful for them to talk to you and vice versa, the chances or likelihood of you getting that business are very slim because they would rather put a fork in their eye than to
Yeah.
like, do business with you. Like I hate to
Yeah.
say it that way, but it's just people like to do business with people that they like.
Hmm.
So it is a matter of, marketing to me is we always talk about lifing, but marketing to me is just getting out there and getting a presence and getting to know people and communicating with them and getting them to like and know and trust you. And once you do that, um, the business just falls. I mean, it's unbelievable how quickly it falls in your lap, right?
It does, and I think that happened between you and I, a couple of years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
we were introduced, and not
I do
complaining, but
tacos and tequila with you all day long, buddy.
but we fought hard to get that gig with you, and but we always had great conversations, great Zooms, and yada yada yada. But the opposite is true too. Like you got to be willing to turn a client down if you don't see that, because there's nothing worse than getting into a deal with a client and the synergy is horrible. And one bad client saying something about you online isn't gonna. I mean, it will overshadow every good thing that's said about you online. So,
Well, that's the beauty of you owning your own business, right? You choose your clients, you
right,
choose who you want to work with, right? I
right,
think that's what I love the most about owning my own business is that I don't have to work with people I don't enjoy working with, right?
right. And if you're hustling, they will come. There's always ups and downs. There's no way around that. I mean, personally, like we just went through a pretty slow summer, and then we get an email from Damon's people a couple weeks ago, and boom, 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 two new clients that we're doing proposals for, and thank you for that. And
You're very
um,
welcome.
but you got to pick the right ones.
Well,
I
again, that
didn't.
shows referral, right? That was a referral. You would be really shocked at how referrals can just grow your business. I mean, I've been partners with Damon for 4 years in this
Mhm.
space. Many of you guys don't know Damon John is one of our business partners in Rise Nation Mastermind, and James is a real good friend, and we've hired James for many things, and he's awesome at what he does. And I was able to connect James with Damon's office, and that's a referral. And therefore, now Damon's team is using James for other things. Again, look at how people that know other people, that is a great example of how that can explode your business,
Right.
right? Just for the power of networking, the power of referrals is huge.
I mean, it is. It's amazing. I mean, your referrals have, just kept my business going. And
Well, thank you.
uh,
Y'all heard it here. But you also have to be, I think what you were going to say, you also have to be willing to put in the work and be good for like people will only refer people if they actually trust that it's going to be worth the referral too. Like I trust everything that you do. That's the reason why I was okay with doing that referral.
exactly. And we built that trust over a long period of
Yeah,
time. And now myself and my company and Damon's team have built that trust over the past year.
right.
Um, but one of the other things, back to the earlier question, how do you get business? It's besides charging almost nothing, it's not such a bad idea to go to a friend or family and say, "Hey, can I do your books for nothing?" And just, if it's simple stuff, at least the public may not know that simple, but if you can get a good case study out of it, and maybe it,
Right.
takes 10 hours of your time, but you got a good case study, there's nothing wrong with that. And then you're doing something for somebody else. I've found over the years that don't say no to helping people that I really want to help, even if I'm not really getting paid for it, because it somehow it turns into something else now,
Hmm.
and it just puts out good energy. Um, and people will refer you, like, well, he did a really nice thing. This probably would have cost me, 5 grand, but he did it, and you should probably, get with him. And um, so never go into a situation thinking, what can I get out of it? It's what can I give?
Right. I think building your business, building an empire is the way I look at it, is building your empire is based on you doing good as well. Right. And so you always have to give back and you have to be willing to do what's right. And if it feels right, you should do it. And sometimes most of the time it pays off. Sometimes it doesn't, but I guarantee you in the long run, it still will pay off. It just may not be at that particular moment. But good deeds are very reciprocated generally most of the time. And so I feel like it's good for you, it's good for people, like even your family, your children, your grandchildren to see that you do good.
Mhm.
So it's all about just building the life that others can mimic as well, and that they see what you're doing, and then giving back to the community. I love, like, we'll do certain things every year that is pro bono, like, because
You
we
just did
do
you did a like a
do give.
bingo thing the other a couple months ago, right? Like
We did a what?
was it a game night at the
We
some lot?
do. We do. We've done things with William Shatner for years at pro bono, and different things, like, just over the years that we've just done because we felt it was the right thing to do, with nothing, never saying we wanted something back out of that ever. It was more of, like, they had a need, and a lot of these, like, there's another one that we're doing right now that's for an animal shelter. Like, they can't afford our services, but we know that we can help them. And
Hmm.
it's a local community animal shelter, so we're going to give back and be able to help. Do we expect anything in return? No. We don't, but it feels good to be able to do good, right? And then what's neat is that it allows us to plug back into the community in ways that we couldn't, which, don't tell me that getting plugged in the community doesn't help with future clients. It will somehow,
Oh, it sure
right?
does.
So I think you just have to realize that, it's good to do that.
Yeah, we got referred a client from Damon, literally from Shark Tank. They just finished filming in the summer, and their episode wasn't airing until November. And Damon had given them a deal, and the short story is they just really can't afford what we do.
Hmm.
Um, but I didn't care. I was like, I'm gonna help them out. They were like, we need help.
Aw.
So it's just this great family. So I went in, optimized their Shopify site before their episode aired. Um, Gave them a whole ton of pointers on social media and stuff, and a lot of direction, and then helped them share stuff as they aired, and yada yada yada. And not expecting anything, he sent me a referral. The guy whose company this is, that I
And I
have
bet a great testimonial too, huh?
yeah, right. So I charged him nothing, and he sent me a referral for a company that's pretty big. And maybe we'll get a good job out of it. But that's what I'm saying. Like I just you just could run across people where it's like, I need to do this.
Yeah, it's the
Mhm.
right thing to do.
And it just feels good. And even if you don't make money, it still feels good. That's kind of priceless. So
Well, I think that's, again, like I said, it's the beauty of owning your own business. You can get your clients, get really great paid clients. Then you can also give back to clients that may need your help and support. And that's
mhm.
always the feel good part of being an entrepreneur and owning your own business. You can choose what you do. So let's dig in a little bit more into the marketing or
Yeah,
building your brand side. So obviously, people should have a website if they want to. They don't have to. Obviously, in the bookkeeping world, you can or cannot. But if they
simple
were
landing page, that could be
right,
designed by AI in 10 minutes, and you
what
just
else
need
would you recommend out there for kind of like to get themselves out and be exposed?
Um, definitely, like you're saying, like local networking groups, not ones that you necessarily have to pay to be in, but just see if there's ones where there, referrals are required within the group. Those exist around here. Um, start telling people what you're doing. I think a lot of entrepreneurs at the start, like they forget who their initial network is anyway. It's like, make a list of all the people that you could send an email to right away and just say, hey, I'm doing this. If you know anybody, send it. Um,
Don't be afraid to ask,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right,
Nobody knows what you want until you ask for it.
right.
For me as a social media guy in the beginning, every store I walked into, I was like, hey, who does your social media? Hey, who does your social media? I mean, it was just that easy. And for bookkeepers, why not the same thing? I mean, having worked with so many small businesses locally, there is not a single one of them that didn't need a bookkeeper.
Right, right.
Or reach out to, what would be the next level above a bookkeeper, like a CPA or someone who's got their own CPA business or
Tax
tax
pro.
audit business and um, start asking, hey, do you need a bookkeeper? I know CPAs around here that are like, we don't do our bookkeeping. We farm that stuff out.
Right.
Um, and that's just a great way to get gigs. And then on the social media front, just, you don't have to be the best at doing social media, but you just got to get something out there with consistency a few times a week. That's not boring, you know?
So give us an example, like, and also it's over delivering with content just so that people consistently see you out there. So give us an example of what somebody could do. Can you think of something?
If you're like a QuickBooks person, maybe do a tip sequence of, maybe some of what you consider your secret sauce, but you're not really telling them that's what it
Mm,
is. This will make your life easier. Um, if you do this, this, and this, then you could do, 3 or 4 posts a week going through that. Or even simple functions inside of QuickBooks that people who are just starting to learn it don't even understand. I mean, there's a business right there and just guiding people through learning QuickBooks. There's huge QuickBooks groups on Facebook.
what about YouTube? So let's just chat about YouTube real quick. Like if someone's brand new and they're like, I don't have all the cameras and I don't have all the things to like create all this like impressive content, what do you tell them to do and how to get started?
They have a phone.
They have a phone.
They
That's
have a
right.
phone. I need is phone, tripod, some natural lighting. Maybe I'll do a plug for Damon. Damon's pushing this U-shaped light that looks really cool. Um, and for $100, you're ready to go. You don't need any of that. And then there's AI video software, real easy. Or if you want to get a little more into it, you could hire a VA for like $6 or $8 an hour to edit your videos. Whole nother topic there.
Right.
Um, but you don't need much, and you're not seeing um, things that are successful because they're Oscar worthy material. It's just entertaining.
Well,
Um,
do you think that the more, I personally, maybe I'm wrong, I like the more homemade type videos before the polished ones anyway, right? The
yeah,
the more authentic and raw it is anyway, the more it attracts me to watch it.
sure. I think a really cool thing that should start to happen, I've seen it a little bit, is people need to show people how imperfect they are.
Hmm.
Meaning, look at how bad I am at this. Like be like, hey, I've never juggled. And look here, I can't even juggle. And then the next day it's like, hey, look, I practiced a little and I'm getting a little better at it. And that might sound strange, but it's pretty interesting when people start scrolling around and they get kind of tired of seeing everyone's, planned out perfections instead of real life. You know what I mean? Um, so there's nothing wrong with showing, some humanism in your posts um, and talk about things that are relevant to the audience you want to attract.
I like that. I find that as far as videos are concerned, I think that the what you just need to do is just take action and do it. It doesn't matter. And as you grow and as you build, you might make them more polished, or maybe you can afford more. You go get someone that does them for you or edits them. But I think just getting started, it's kind of the same thing with anything of just reaching out to. It's starting and getting started and showing that you actually care about your business, I think that authenticity is what people will follow. That's what people will
Yes.
will
Yes.
will actually come in and follow you, like and trust you, and then be able to refer you or do business with you because you are real. You are a real
Absolutely.
person in the video. So
And
I think doing funny things too is kind of sets you apart from everybody else.
yeah, well, if being unafraid to be embarrassed is
Yeah.
brilliance, I think. Um, but what you were just saying before, you should just film yourself, 5 times a day. Pick up your phone, talk into it, whatever you want to do, just do it in practice. You don't have to post it all, but you got to make a lot of bad stuff before you find something that really kind of hits. So just knock all the cobwebs off, and also you gotta be you got to add like 100% to your normal energy when you start filming stuff too, because you'll notice like, and people who are watching this who go into their goal and they'll shoot a video of themselves and they're when they watch it back, they probably sound like they're sleeping. You gotta you gotta amp the whole thing up way more, and it's just got to be big radio news voice, and it sounds really loud and obnoxious like I'm doing right now. But when you play it back, the energy gets cut down. So you got to figure out where you need to be so the right level comes through.
Do you think that there's any, in regards to social media in particular, is there any big mistakes that you think small businesses are making right now that you would avoid, or
I
is
think
there
they're
any?
spending too much money on ads. I don't think they should be spending any money on ads. I think they should be working on what works for them organically. I mean, that's what we do in our business. We will not make an ad out of anything until it does well organically. So boosting posts, things like that, you just don't waste the money. Don't do that. You do not need to post 3 times a day. It dilutes the amount of people that will see your posts. As soon as one's up, let it ride for 48 hours, even into 3 days. Now, the way the algorithm works, there are chances where the algorithm can pop it in front of the right people. It's not like a couple years ago where like you had to get a massive amount of likes and comments right out the gate. It can sit and simmer for a while and still do great. And don't let people over posting scare you into thinking that that's what you need to do. Um, and keep in mind that you see a lot of stuff because that's what your algorithm is doing for you. So don't let that again scare you into thinking you need to do more stuff. And I think my biggest pet peeve is when people jump on a trend. And I tell all my clients, I'm like, if you think it's a trend now, then you're too late. So think of
That's
something new.
true. So let's talk about that for just a second. So how does someone stand out when right now it feels like there's a lot of platforms that are out there that are just overly saturated? So how can they stand out, particularly a bookkeeper?
Um, if they are doing the right kind of captions that are using the right kind of keywords that will trigger the algorithm to show their content to the right audience, then they will stand out to the correct audience. Um, and that sounds a little nerdy, a little eggheady, but that's the way the algorithm works now. And hashtags are kind of dead.
I was just going to
Um,
ask you that. I'm like, do you think that they're even relevant anymore?
I think they are in a certain manner where it's like you can do like there's like a 3 by 3 by 3 rule. I think it is where it's like, this is what we are, this is the audience we're looking for, and this is what we want to be kind of thing. So it'd be like 6 total, and you just kind of choose them. The only problem with using hashtags is it actually now shrinks the opening to who's going to see the post. Really, the key stuff is in the keywords in the captions and then in the alt text, which you'll see you put in posts. You don't actually see it in the post, but there are little blocks when you're posting. Say, do you want to put alt text here on different carousel pictures? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Right, right.
So a lot of people just skip that because they don't know what it is, but that's where you can put in keywords to feed the algorithm. I think you know the first 3 seconds gotta grab you, and the first 3 seconds don't even need to really be about what it is you're gonna do. Um, so you'll see a lot of I don't necessarily like this anymore, but it was good when it started, which was you would see these like motorcycle crashes and a guy sliding off the motorcycle, and then they would cut to like whoever was doing the video who was ever using that with their current marketing video, then it would, they'd come sliding into the room, and then it's this guy and his product, and that was really cool for a while. It's a little overused now, but just something that's hooked in the front, and then you need a beginning, middle, and end, but you got to focus on that first 3 seconds so they're not going to swipe away.
Right. So talk about content, and because some people here may not understand how to do this, and I want you to kind of like make this really simple for people to digest. So how do you repurpose? So say you make one piece of content, right? Like they go and they film, they do one piece of content, they put it up on YouTube, whatever. How does someone take that one piece of content, and how do they repurpose that into being able to use it for multiple posts? How would they do that?
Um, the easiest, least expensive way to do it yourself is through Canva. All of
And we
the
do talk about that a lot. We love Canva.
Yeah, so all the proper sizings are in there, so you can repurpose all of that. But at the same time, too, you don't need to spread yourself over all these platforms. Like your bookkeeping people, I think YouTube would be a colossal waste of time for them. It's just not where people are hanging out. Maybe that's somewhere they store where longer pieces of content live as they build more of a following. But out the gate, it's more about Instagram, a Facebook page, maybe even a TikTok if they're willing to, kind of get into that TikTok video vibe.
Right. So let's go back to AI. We started on that right at the very beginning. How do
Mhm.
you feel like AI is changing social media strategy at all?
I think I think it waters it down. I think people are, I guess, misusing it isn't the right thing. They're using it incorrectly. Just because it's AI doesn't mean it's going to be great. It's still. I always go back to these are. It's still marketing 101. What's the brand? What's the messaging? Where's the audience? And what content are we going to use to connect them? So it's AI just adds a whole lot of bells and whistles to that, and it can make it quicker and stuff. But I think you still have to step into AI with some creative kind of juices yourself for the originality, or at least be able to know how to talk to AI to make that happen. Um, I'm a little over a lot of like the Opus clip cuts and things like that. I think that's way overused if you've ever used that. But I think it's, you can use it to it's great for writing copy and ideas. And of course, you can create AI generated videos. I don't know if your bookkeepers are that well versed in it to take it that far. You know, I think it's a good sounding board. Like if you have content that you're unsure of, I would always like load it up into chat and be like, what do you think of this? So, use a prompt like, research the current best practices on Instagram and TikTok and what does best in the algorithm, and tell me if this content meets any of those criteria and what I need to do to change it.
So I know how smart you are. I've worked with you personally for years. I've seen your work. I know what you're capable of doing, and you're just really authentic and brilliant at such a high level. I wish people could just tap into your brain here a little bit more, and I really am grateful for you. But here's what I would love, a couple of things, and then we'll wrap up today. But
Yeah, sure.
if you could, what would you do today? And I want from your expert level insight here. Like, what would you do today if you had to grow a new account, someone new, brand new bookkeeper, they're starting a brand new business, new account, and they had to grow from 0 to 10,000 followers in 90 days? What would you tell them to do, or what would you do for them to grow from that 0 to 10K?
Figure out what their name is, what's their voice, and then choose the content we're going to deliver that voice with so that content matches the audience we want to find. And then literally map out the videos, the carousels, the captions, a calendar of 90 days of, well, do like 30 days first, and just start posting, 3 or 4 times a week and see how things are going. Because you get the metrics in real time, so you just kind of let your audience tell you what's there. I would definitely set up a mini chat. That's what the automation and comments you see where it's like comment this and you'll get this. So you need a whole lot of you make some giveaways. Oh my gosh, lead magnet stuff to give away, like, hey, comment, blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
I'll send you my 10 tips for keeping your book straight. And then like the key to that is the person only can get that 10 tips in your DMs if they're following you. So you design your many chat flow so they have to follow you to get this free info. And again, this is all you keep giving, 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 so you get followers, 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 and then you just keep rolling with that. And
I
that's the first time I mentioned ManyChat in any of this, but that is an integral part of growing Facebook and Instagram and staying connected. Um, and like I said, giving away, free stuff that's valuable. So,
Yeah, it's a great tool. We use it as well. Love
of
that.
course, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I set it up for you.
you did. You sure did. I'm gonna do something I've never done before. It's called a lightning round. It's kind of
Oh,
fun.
geez.
I know. I'm gonna see if I can stump you. Ready? I'm
Oh
gonna
my.
ask you some quick questions and you gotta think about it. And I want you to see. I promise they're not bad.
Okay.
What's your favorite platform?
Instagram.
Okay. Most overrated creator.
So I'm going to say this with a caveat. Okay.
Okay.
Gary V.
Okay. What's the caveat?
Um, because people listen to what he said 2, 3 years ago and they miss what he's talking about now. And I think he's brilliant, but guys like Gary that say you could post 5, 10 times a day. It's like, you're Gary V. You can post as many times as you want. It doesn't really matter. You're going to do great. And that's where it gets lost in the mix with new people. I hear his name in every discovery Zoom I do with a new company.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
Gary V says this. I'm like, why don't you go hire Gary V then?
That's very interesting. All right.
Yeah.
What's the best hook you've ever used?
Can't remember for what brand or for myself, but it started with, let me tell you why I suck.
Oh, I like that. It gets their attention, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Do you prefer video or photo?
Video.
All right. Long form or short form?
In the caption or video, you mean?
You tell me.
Um, I'm not a big fan of long form video. And I'm an old guy. I'm 55 and I have an attention span, but I really don't like, I'm like, don't bore us, get to the chorus. That's what I am.
Let me just get to it, right?
Yeah.
What is one social media tip that will never, ever go out of style?
Authenticity. If you are delivering something that you truly, truly believe in, then people will believe you and trust you. And when they trust you, they will buy anything from you.
Very good. Well, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me at lucentesocialmedia.com or James at lucentesocialmedia.com. And hey, I will consult with anyone, anytime for $0.
Well, what's the best way for someone to work with you? Let's just say, is it to get started, just to chat with you, and then to see if that's a good opportunity to work with you, or
Yeah, shoot me an email and let's see what you need. And, really it comes down to dollars and cents. And there is no sector that I have not been successful in digital marketing and social media. And that sounds kind of, you know, seated, but I've been doing it a long time. And I just have been through so many businesses that uh, somebody was interviewing me the other day and they're like, what's the craziest thing someone asked you to do? And I was like, they wanted me to do the social media for this business they were starting where they filmed bare feet in cabs. I turned that
seriously?
I turned that one down.
Well, if I start seeing bare feet in cabs, I know it wasn't you, James.
Oh, listen, I passed on that one.
So here's the thing here's my final question for you, because I think a lot of the times people that get into bookkeeping tend to not necessarily be the ones that are out there constantly being social. We have to learn to be more social and to get out there more and to really talk about building our brand, our business. And so that means it can be hard sometimes for them to want to post content about themselves or to even put themselves out there in social media. So let's leave it here with what would be a final advice that you would give someone that is afraid to post content or actually put themselves out there in the social media world?
Um, I tell people this all the time. If it doesn't feel awkward, then you're crazy. And
Mm,
to a sane, normal person, relatively sane or normal, filming themselves, talking about themselves, and promoting themselves is one of the most awkward things you could ever do. And even guys that are great at it, if you talk to them behind the scenes, they're like, yeah, it just feels weird, you know? So you're not alone. I mean, you just got to do it and you get used to it. And it's like any other kind of performance thing. If you're a singer or playing in a band or a dancer or whatever. Like I just did a taekwondo tournament, my first one ever with my son this past weekend, and I'd never done that stuff in front of large groups of people, and it was horrifying. Um,
really?
yeah, but I'm like totally psyched to do it the next time because I tore the band-aid off on that. So
Right.
you know,
Sometimes
um,
it's just rip the band-aid off, right?
yeah, yeah.
We always tell people to do it uncomfortable. Just be uncomfortable, but do it, right?
Yeah, and you're your worst critic, and that's why I'm saying, 5 times a day, just pick up your phone, hit record, and start talking into it, and start watching it back, and you'll be like, oh, that's so cringy, and yeah, it is, but it will get better.
That is true. James, you are just one of my favorite people on the planet. I'm so
Well,
grateful
thank
for
you.
you. For everyone, James Lucente, if you would like to chat with him, you can find him through his company. All right. Everyone, that's a wrap on today's episode. Take what you learned from James here today, put it into action, and keep moving forward. And make sure to follow the show. And we'll catch you on our very next episode. Thanks again, James, and thanks to
Well,
everyone
thank you,
for joining
Deanna.
us.